Hello, and welcome to another episode of In My Experience with yours truly, Christine DeGinto. This podcast is a space where I speak from lived experience. The moments that shaped me, challenged me, and changed the way that I understand myself in the world. The awakenings, the breakdowns, the moments that cracked me open, asked me to stay present, be embodied, and be honest with myself. I share my stories not to persuade or define truth for anyone else, but to offer perspective, to explore the gray areas we don't often have language for, to slow things down and listen more closely to what's happening beneath the surface. You'll hear solo episodes where I reflect on my own initiations, spiritual gifts, and the systems that tried to define me. And conversations with guests who have walked strange, beautiful, and sometimes painful paths of their own and come back with wisdom to share with us. I invite you to take what resonates, leave the rest, and trust your own experience as valid. Thank you for being here. This is In My Experience. Oh, and welcome back to another episode of In My Experience. I'm very happy to be home from a week-long trip in Mount Shasta, California. It really opened up the horizons, and my mind and my body released a lot of energy that was being stored for many, many years. I went with my daughter for a week, and the first 3 days we had a ceremony with my facilitator, Chris King, that I've worked with in the past, and he has been a guest on the show previously. If you have not caught that episode, feel free to check it out. Of course, I'm sorry, my cat, Kit Kat, is running around playing right now. She gets excited sometimes when I put my radio voice on. Anyway. Today, I have an awesome conversation to share with you that I had with Teri DeMarco in March, the end of March 31st. We recorded this, and she goes over a lot of the astrological transits that are happening for April and some in May and June and beyond, but sort of like the current times of the energies, and some having to do with the collective and some having to do with my personal chart and how things play through. I've worked with Teri before. She is also associated with Amy Belair, and I believe she found me through her podcast, and I did a reading for her in the past, maybe 2 years ago, and she referred some additional clients my way, which I so appreciate. Before I was able to formally introduce her, she said some awesome things about her work and some of the things that she offers. So I'm just going to play that right now for a minute. The relationship reframe, is that what it's called? Relationship
That's
reframe.
one of them. And then I have parent-child harmony.
Okay.
So it's like really understanding, just when you understand, if you understand friends, family, or kids better, you actually recognize how they process information or how they deal with stress, how they deal with their routines. And once you understand that, I think you can have a lot more empathy for them, you know, and I can tell stories about just my own life. You know, it changed. I recognized so much once I started doing astrology about my husband and what I really nagged him about. And those are things he can't really change.
Yeah, it helps you to understand people closest to you better, how to relate more naturally and in alignment with their natural energy processes and your own. I'm so excited for you to meet Teri DeMarco, practical mystic, Reiki master, astrologer, and Akashic Records reader, offering deeply grounded, embodied healing. Teri blends Reiki, astrology, breathwork, meditation, and Akashic guidance to support emotional clarity, soul-aligned purpose, and conscious relationship healing. Her work is layered, thoughtful, and incredibly intentional. From personal healing to her powerful relationship reframe sessions, where astrology and human design are woven together, to bring clarity, compassion, and deeper understanding into relationships. No fixing, just insight, perspective, and truth. Teri's sessions are prepared with genuine care and energetic integrity. You can feel the depth of her work before you even sit down. If you've been feeling the call to go deeper during this collective awakening moment, this is a beautiful doorway. All of her information and links will be shared in the show notes, but you can also find her on social media at Sensible Heals. Sensible, Heals. That gave me a chuckle. All right, let's get into it. Today we have a wonderful guest. Teri DeMarco is joining us, and she is here to talk about her work in astrology. I recently had a reading with Teri, and it's a child-parent harmony relationship evaluation based on our charts. And she encompasses the human design aspects and the astrology aspects, and kind of helps break down how to relate differently in relationships. And I find it so valuable. Thank you so much, Teri, for your time today. I can't wait to talk with you about all of your work. I'll let you take it away and talk a little bit on your own.
So, well, thanks so much for having me. I've really enjoyed all the podcasts. So I'm always looking. I had to remove a bunch of ones that I would used to listen to, and I've been looking for new ones since the beginning of the year. And so I was so happy when you kind of broke into the scene.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I've really enjoyed all of them. I really
Wonderful.
think that you are tackling topics that are quite interesting and interviewing really good people. So I'm excited about that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So,
I'm
I mean,
excited for you to
honestly,
be here. You're a good person. Thank you
well,
so
thanks.
much. Yeah,
Well,
you're one of
thanks.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you know, I come out of the Amy Belair ether, I'm in her orbit, and it's been an amazing thing for me. I really feel that anyone who kind of flies into her orbit gets amplified in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's a very special, energetic human.
Absolutely.
And so I've been able to participate in a lot of her different programs, and I'm just finishing up Akashic holographic mastery certification. So I'm excited about that.
Yay.
And I'm right now, three of us from that group are doing readings. We call it the Sacred Sisters. We do
Yeah.
readings when we can get together with different people, and it's been really fun because we each, as you know, anyone who does the Akashic Records brings information in differently.
Yes.
You can talk to the same person with three different people, and we're all going to bring different things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a huge value to hearing multiple people's perspectives on the same kind of topics or same questions. And so I've been doing that. I am, as I'm a Reiki master, so I still do hands-on work with people here and there, although astrology has really taken my love lately because it's such a fun, never-ending well of information
Yeah.
and synastries that I just can't get past. Um, and then, I'm shifting into the fourth chapter of my life right now. I just exited my second Saturn return. About every 20 years, I kind of shift and change and do different things. And so this is really my next, probably final phase before, I sail off into my retirement, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And it's been a blast. I'm so glad I'm where I am right now in kind of recognizing the new consciousness that's coming,
Yeah.
and helping people across that bridge, right?
Yes.
It's really what I think most of us who have come through this are here to do, is to help walk people across and to help them. And I'm one of those grounded folks who, I'm not probably helping people figure out what their Lemurian or the Pleiadian background is. I'm saying, hey, what are you doing right now in your life that will help you re-embody so that you can stay grounded and understand all the energies that are coming across. And so, that's kind of my special sauce, I would say. We all have
Yeah.
our own unique sauce.
It's so valuable. And yeah, exactly. We all have our sauce. And for example, I couldn't begin to tell you about astrology. It is just not, my brain will not accept all of that information. It's been fascinating for me to learn about my own chart. And when I mean, I can't read a chart, but I can look things up and kind of feel into it. And that's what I do. I have like an app that I actually checked it before I came on here with you because I know
Okay.
you're so up to date. I'm like, I don't have no idea what's happening. That's me in a nutshell. So thank God for people like you who actually understand the science and have studied it and feel aligned and attuned with it because it is absolutely accurate, valuable information that has been used since the beginning of time that we have discovered. It only makes sense. We come from the stars, we're made of the stars, we return to the stars. We should be looking to the stars to understand the influence that they have.
Right. It's amazing. If you ever do get called, because I had never been called. I was right where you were, not that long ago. And I'd had my charts done for 20 years. Like I didn't know how to look at anything. I didn't understand the symbology. And
Mm-hmm.
then it just came in.
Yeah.
It just down, like I was like, oh, this could make sense. And it's a really fun deep dive. I didn't quite understand how much of a deep dive it is until I got
Mm-hmm.
into it.
Yeah.
I probably have spent, heading on a year and a half, almost full time, 10 hours a day, just
Wow.
researching. I mean, it's like there's
Yeah.
no end of cool, interesting things. And so I love it. To me, it's just being in college again,
Yes.
at
Yes.
almost 60. Like I'm like, hey, I'm going back into college. Told my
Yes.
kids, you have to feed yourselves, you have to do everything for yourselves. But luckily they're old enough. They're all adults at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm quitting my mom job and I'm moving on to this one, I guess.
Yeah, I love that so much. And it's in the timing. It's all in the timing. And I hope someday it'll click in for me. I believe it will because I think in a recent recording I was saying, and I may not have shared this yet, but I was saying, I feel like I'm going to get it. I'm
Yeah.
more and more interested in it. I'm going
Mhm.
toward it more. So that only equals, the
For
outcome.
sure. I think that what it is, like when you hit, like someone will say something and it will just be like, oh, this is a thing I can just look at in the chart and see what it does.
Yeah.
And, and once that you dive there and you're like, oh, I can now map this to things that happened in my life. Oh, okay. Now, like it's like peeling an onion or whatever, like, or pulling the string out of a sweater. Like the minute
Yeah.
you start there, it's like you can just keep going. And I recognized pretty quickly that I wanted a very strong background in ancient astrology because modern astrology, I think the reason it doesn't resonate to a lot of us is that modern astrology has kind of been developed since I mean, I guess since the 1900s, but maybe around the 50s and 60s, it kind of
Hmm.
came around. And a lot of it was just conjecture and aligned with psychology. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it lacked kind of grounding in myth.
Yeah, the archetypal
Yeah,
elements.
right. I mean,
Hmm.
there certainly were people who talked about the archetypes. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but like Liz Green and others. But when you really understand why the ancient astrologers back in pre-Christ, right? We're in like whatever 300 BCE, like
Mm-hmm.
why, or whatever 600 BCE, they were coming up with these things because their whole job was to figure out what was going to happen with the king's life, and there would be multiple people, and their only job was to predict things that might happen in the royal's life or the very wealthy's people's lives.
And that continues to this day,
Right.
right? I mean, the wealthiest people around the world have the top astrologers. That's a known thing. So, well, you got to wonder why that is. They know something.
Just today, I got an email or I saw a text. I was searching on something, and the Economic Times, I think out of the UK, has an astrology section.
Oh,
That was
interesting.
like, really?
Yeah, makes it, well, it is all, excuse me, it is also influential in the energies that become crystallized into our reality.
Right.
So if you haven't figured that out yet, that's, the
Right.
opportunity to come to the realization because people argue and that's okay. Like my son, for example. Teri laughs. She just recently did a parent-child harmony reading for myself in regard to my two children. And I haven't really mentioned my son because he's 19. He's not into this, and I'm sure he doesn't want his name in my mouth associated with this, but he is my child and I do look out for him. So it's funny, I'm thinking about this. I didn't want it to all fall down, but I have an astrology book like this,
Oh,
pretty thick.
yeah.
I mean, I got it for Christmas and I got one for my son too. He doesn't read it. Like, and I'm like, this is valuable information. I'm trying to.
Oh, oh, whoa.
I knew that would happen. I'm so sorry.
I have the same problem.
I have too many
They
books.
need to be weighted better, I think.
Yes. What is rolling around?
And a bookend almost fell off of the shelf for people who are just listening to
Yes,
this.
I'm so sorry.
That's
And
okay.
and my crystals got knocked off.
Oh no.
You're okay. It's fine. No worries. But yeah, it's
I
good to
think
understand. And her reading for me and breaking down my son's chart really helped me to understand the conflict and conjecture that comes up when I try to talk with him about things. And it's to take it less personally, and that it really is within himself, and that he's just trying to express his viewpoints. But yeah, it was very helpful.
Yeah. I mean, I think like that, it matters, I laugh because I have a daughter who has a stellium in Gemini, I think, as I've told you, and she's very Gemini, and I love her to death. But I've had to learn about what a Gemini is to be able to celebrate her and not be prickled by her sometimes, right? She's
Mm-hmm.
also a projector. Um, and I find that a lot of times when I'm interacting with projectors, they can say things that I'm just like, like it's fingernails on a chalkboard, or like
Yep.
a scratched record, if people know what records are. Um, and you're just like, oh, and I had to learn, like, oh, wow, this is just a thing. It's not anything wrong with the person. It's not anything trying to like be problematic to me. It's just the way they engage the world. And I think when we understand that, hey, everybody comes in with their own story and their own archetype, their own chart, and they engage the world differently, you start understanding like where are their reaction points. I call it like, this is something I talk about broadly, not just in a kid's chart, but like where are our dopamine hits and where's our discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
And, dopamine hits are where ego really has a lot of play. It's like why do we keep going back to that thing that hurts us? Well, it's probably because there's some level of dopamine hit there, right? That
Yeah.
can just be an escapist or an addiction, but it also can be hanging out with people who, fangirl us or something, and we know they
Mm-hmm.
aren't good people for us to hang out with, but it's a boost to our ego to be there, So I think when we understand where those hits come from, we can also start recognizing, oh, is this the best way for me to interact? Am
Yeah.
I bleeding my power, right?
Yeah.
Am I just bleeding my power out in areas where, in losing my reserves for when I really need it? One thing I did last year is I decided to come off of YouTube and social media mostly, and I started reading books again. And I read like 38 books in the year, and all trashy fae books, right? Sarah J. Maas, and, anything to do with magic and, you know, supernatural things.
Yeah.
But they always talk about having to replenish their power, right?
Mm.
And they expend in each different book series, the power expends in different ways, and how it's refueled or replenished is different. But I
Mm.
think about that. I think that, we spend our whole days bleeding our power out in ways, and then we end up spent a lot of times when we want to do things that are important to us, especially as
Yes.
moms, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And I think like for us to understand where are we bleeding our power, and I think, you can almost look at it like if I only had, each day I only have like 10 tickets of energy, where am I going to use them? And sometimes, interacting with a kid who's, just we aren't aligned, just intellectually not aligned. Yeah, maybe it's not worth pulling out a ticket for that one. Maybe just
Yeah.
let it slide, and focus on other things. And remember that you want to have a little bit of a reserve to do the things that are most important, or if an emergency comes up. I mean,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and yeah, imagine that. Choosing to have an energy reserve. It's kind of like governing your own body. Like it's kind of like what would you expect the government to do with the resources? You would expect them to plan and prepare and preserve, right?
Right.
I'm saying in the ideal,
We would hope.
that's what you expect. That's what they're
Right.
supposed to do. So, like,
Right.
if you were a civilian, which we all are, and we are all pretty much on our own, thank God. I mean, we have that choice, so we can like decide to do things differently. But, yeah, just deciding to keep a reserve of energy for emergencies, like you said, and also to keep it for ourselves to express in the ways that bring us more energy. I'm just trying to visualize, I'm trying to explain, like, I've recently started homeschooling. I keep saying that. Uh, and I have all these cool things in the basement. We have every pottery tool you would ever need to create anything you want, like by hand or on the wheel. We have clay, we have all this stuff. Do I do it? No.
Right.
Why? Because all the things that need to be done, right? Like there's dishes in the sink, the laundry needs to be done. It's all the things that keep happening over and over. And it's like, that's going to take this much energy, X
Right.
amount of energy. And I don't always have stuff left to
Right.
do the extra thing that I want to do. But why on earth did I buy all of those tools, even a stamp, a personalized stamp? And like
Right.
I bought classes to watch to learn about how to make specific pieces. I mean, like I've really invested a lot of time and money into this pottery. Do I do it? No. How do I change that? I want to change that. So it's just
Right.
like being aware, and being like, you know what? I'm gonna leave the dishes in the sink, so I'm gonna do some pottery. You know?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. And allowing others to do the work. And that's something I know for myself has been a long lesson that I think finally, as my kids are like almost, they're 19, 19, and one's almost 18. So, I'm finally like, my husband has always said to me, just leave it. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's great as long as someone does it, right? Like just leaving
right.
it just means it's going to stack up. But I think he's right in the fact that for them, the more I'm not reliably doing things in the house, putting groceries in, doing, emptying dishwashers and all of that. I mean, they do their own beds, they make their own, or they do their own laundry. So that's not been a problem. But like, the more I step away, the more they step up.
Hmm.
Because whenever I've traveled, they've always like, it's always like they're all like completely empowered when I'm gone. Like if I go
Yeah.
away for a week or so, I
Yeah.
hear all these stories about all the things they did and all the meals they cooked. And I'm just like, okay, well, do that when I'm.
Right.
And I
Well,
think
but
it's me stepping out. Like it's me just
yes.
saying, you know what? I don't do this anymore. And I've been really focused on saying that for the last couple months.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too. I've been thinking about this, like treating ourselves like goddesses. I would love to do that. I would love to do self-care all the time. I have lots of self-care stuff, but again, I don't do it. I barely even put my mouth guard in at night. Okay. Like, and these are things like you should, you take care of yourself. But yeah, because we have to do all the things. And it was never supposed to be this way. We weren't supposed to be individual families with the burden of
Right.
responsibility on only the majority of the burden on the mother. It's not supposed to be that way. Mothers are supposed to be in community, and the children are
Exactly.
supposed to be protected by the community of, you know, it's just uh
It's
it's
true. I've always thought like why, I was an at-home mom. That was one of the really great things that my husband and I kind of hoped for and were able to pull off. And I was always like, why can't the other at-home moms just come over and we'll do laundry together? Like it didn't make sense to me that everybody's, doing their own thing and then going out to produce play dates and stuff. And then, there weren't that many of us to begin with, right? So And I really think, we lost so much when we kind of decimated the neighborhood, and took all of the, all the seeing or watching eyes out of the neighborhood, even the senior citizens, the people who had raised their children and were the grandparents in the neighborhood, they can no longer afford to live in a lot of these places, right? The taxes get so high, but we lose the eyes. And then when you lose, the mom is not around or the dad's not around, and then you lose the eyes, the kids can't just play in the neighborhood anymore, and you lose that. Now they're in institutional care all the time. I've toyed for years with wanting to write a book about that. Like, I call it Raised in Captivity. But I think that there has been a very big cost to children in the last 30 years. And I'm not saying that women shouldn't work. What I'm just believing is that we've done this major social change without really understanding the costs or the unintended consequences is all. And if we had been a little bit more thoughtful about, geez, what is it like to raise a kid in an institution? Well, I think we knew what that looked like in the 60s, in the 70s and the 20s, in orphanages. We understood that it wasn't a perfect idea for kids. And we've essentially replicated that for most of society at this point. We have children who show that, the repercussions of that is all I would say. And I get it. It would be hard to change back. I kind of think we should use a lot of the money governmentally that we have that supports like mental health on the back end and give it to mothers in the first 6 months of their kids' lives to be able to stay home. Like try
in other
invest.
countries, that's like Sweden is coming to mind. I may not be correct about that, but there maternity leave for mothers and fathers. And that's like a standard thing. It's like, of course you have to be home with your child. I know, like the next morning after I came home, I was in the hospital for like 2 days. That's normal. I came home. It was the first night at home. And then in the morning, my husband came in and was like, bye. I have to go to work. And I'm like, I can't even go downstairs like to get food or water. Like, what the fuck? Don't leave me. Like, but but I was also trained like work is the most important thing. And it is simply not. It's not. And it's just not. I wasn't trained that work is the most important thing. I was actually trained that you work for your family. The reason that you work is for your family. But yeah, we were obviously not on the same page, and that's why we're just not together anymore. But it's just
I think I think from many men nowadays that they've lost their ability to have the directive, that providing for, like, I don't know. I always think back to like when I think about like what we're being asked in this consciousness to kind of go back and look at old ways of being, and we don't want to take all of it. There's a lot of things about old ways of being over 500 years ago that we probably wouldn't want to bring back in. But there are some pearls, right? There are some things. I think living generationally is a smart way to live, right? What do we do with our elders? Think about not so much from the kids side, but from a parent side. Our elders right now are kind of left to languish in, old folks' homes or in, whatever. And it's not a fun end of life. And yet here they are. They have all of this knowledge and wisdom from having lived so many years, and they have the benefit of not getting that upset about many things anymore because they've seen so much, right? And having that coming back into our kids and into our families to prove to us that there are different ways of living. I think that's one of them. I think recognizing that we should be working not to accumulate wealth but to accumulate happiness, love. I don't want to say happy because I think that's kind of a weird thing, but like have enough that keeps us supported and ability to help others, but not have to really just hoard it all and then feel like now I'm managing 14 other places.
People argue with me all the time about like money when I say like we shouldn't have to buy food and water. Like it should, like that is like an inherent, like we are living beings on a living planet and like that is available to us and we keep messing it up. And there are like rules and regulations, like you can't grow food in a neighborhood. And it's like, what? That's like
Right.
where you should be growing the food. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, but obviously, you know, there
I
are,
think that's easy to change. I do understand the regulations, and I think some of that is we have gotten, I don't want to get into politics, but I think we've
yeah,
gotten to a way of running our government where we see one bad outcome and we create a law to ensure that no one ever makes that, has that bad outcome again.
yeah,
And I kind of liked the way I grew up in the 70s. And, we certainly had laws and regulations, but this is pre seatbelt law, right?
hmm,
We recognize that bad things happen, but it's not because, we don't need to then impose our bad fortune on everyone else. You know what I mean? And so it
yeah,
was just a different way of living. And I'm kind of glad I came up in that because I understand that we experience life very differently because it wasn't so precious. I mean, I don't, not like people dying, but like it just didn't feel so precious. School didn't feel so important. Life didn't feel so precious. You didn't have these um, outsized ideas of what you had to do with your life,
yeah,
or not
yeah,
everyone did. And now I just feel like, everybody's got to be college educated. Everybody's got to be making six figures, and that's a huge amount of pressure on a life. And you know what? Knowing astrology, not everybody's suited for that.
hmm,
They just aren't,
hmm,
you
yeah,
know, and I wasn't suited for it. And boy, did I spend, the first 15 years of my career really driving and really achieving, but my body didn't do well,
hmm, hmm.
right?
So yes, similarly, I understand that like as a projector, I was raised by generators and a manifesting generator, just surrounded by generators. So I was raised like a generator, but I am not. I don't have that energy. I'm not supposed to push and work until the cows come home. Like
Right.
that's not what I'm supposed to do. What do I do? Push and work till the cows come home, like because that's like what I feel like I'm supposed to do. But I've been getting away from that, and like lately, I've been feeling um, kind of lazy and tired. Like yesterday and today, very tired. And I'm like, you know what? That's okay. Maybe I'm recharging for something that I don't know about yet. Like it's not that I'm being lazy. I'm taking care of myself and I don't have to push. So those are the types of realizations that like human
They're
design
huge,
has helped. Yeah.
but they're huge. And I think the thing is that recognize the societal programming that we have is perverse. It's
Yeah.
not correct. And
Yeah.
we just have to grant ourselves the grace to recognize that, you know what? I understand that we have bought into this idea that has created a lot of subsequent things, meaning we bought into this idea that you must make money and you must have all this money to do all these things. But now we need so much to have all those things that it's almost getting to the point where it's like, how do you even do that? I mean, I'm looking at my poor kids who, they were homeschooled. Like my sons have no interest in college because they just, at this point in their lives at 19, do not see the value. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
fine with that because I don't know if I see it either.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, even if they were to go, like, how much money do they have to make to be able to pay for an apartment in Boston at $2,700 a month?
Right.
Like, that's a two-bedroom apartment here,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's a low end of a two-bedroom apartment here. So, like, that's a lot of money. When I got out of college, I was paying $685 for a studio apartment. Like
Yeah.
that, I could build from that, right? And I
Yeah.
could get to a point where I recognized, hey, I either will take the career path or I'll kind of grind. I'll work to fuel my passions or I'll work in my passion, and you can choose which path. Now you almost have to work and kill yourself to even try to enjoy a little bit of life.
Yeah, I feel like the facade is falling for sure because it was never actually sustainable, but we were sort of tricked into it, like Social Security, all the things. And
Mm.
it's like the taxes and where our money goes and what money is spent on and how things work. And
But I think
it's
this is
just,
what this
it's,
year, all of the astrology transits of this year
yes.
are exposing all of the shoddy foundation or scaffolding behind what, this whole belief system. And I think people are they're yearning for something authentic. They're
Yeah.
yearning for, even if it's just, it doesn't even have to be fancy, just authentic, right?
Yes.
Why are
Yes.
podcasts so interesting to people? Why are they the new medium to get information? It's because it feels authentic,
Mm-hmm.
right? And people are just really interested in this. Like, this is kind of what it is. And they're looking out into the world and they're saying, wow, I can't rely on my government. I can't rely on my healthcare system. I can't, these places they do not deliver what they purport to deliver.
Yeah.
So we need to figure out how to keep our own selves healthy, manage, build our own security and wealth in whatever way we can, and make sure that we kind of own control over it.
Yeah.
Social Security is owned by the government. Anytime the government has money, I'm not
Yeah.
sure where it goes. Like, I think we're
Yeah.
starting to see some of the green curtain pulled on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I do think this is all in divine order. Like, we're seeing it
Yes.
all crumble, and it's painful to watch it crumble, and it's scary, and it causes a lot of fear. But I think it has to. I think it has. The reason we're seeing all this is so that we stand up and say, "Wow, if this were all to go away, what's most important?" And it's the only thing that I can really control is how I interact with the world,
Mm-hmm.
myself,
Mm-hmm. Yes. And how
right?
you
That's it.
feel, what you spend your time doing, and like what that means to you, how it helps others, how it helps yourself. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm excited for it. I've been seeing this coming. I'm ready for it. I'm just like lawless. Pew pew. Like whatever has to fall, I really don't care because I know that it'll be so beautiful. And I really believe in our human capabilities of coming together, solving problems. I already know that things exist. Like there have been countless scientific breakthroughs that just get covered up because it's not convenient,
Right,
but like that doesn't mean they don't exist. Okay. So, like, all this stuff, it already exists. We already have the solution. We hold
right,
the solution in ourselves. And yeah, making choices every day to be more cohesive with the world, all the other humans in the land, because
right.
that's why we're here. But
Yeah.
Terry, you said that you did some research talking and you wanted to touch on some of the things you see in the pipeline for this time astrologically. Can you speak on that?
Yeah. So I just kind of I really only went to a month forward because I think there's a lot happening in April. Um, and so it's interesting. Um, and we could talk about stuff later, but I think this is a pretty big month coming up. So, like, first of all, most everything is happening in Aries right now. For you, that just means that is in your 11th house. So, I kind of looked at what was going on in your chart as well. But the Aries, the sun has just transited into Aries, as we're in Aries season. And on March 22nd, Sun hit Neptune. It like went over Neptune. And then soon after, it went over Saturn. Like, it conjuncted with Saturn, and it's moved through. But what is happening in Aries, because Neptune and Saturn sit there, they're like, I would call them like a cleansing planet kind of a thing. So
Mm-hmm.
you have Neptune, which is the dissolution planet. It's the planet that takes all of, like, it's like I'm living under a cloud or under you know an illusion, and it
Mm-hmm.
gets removed, right? It can go backwards too. It can be like I'm living aware, and then all of a sudden things get cloudy and confusing. But right now, I think the way that Neptune is playing in Aries is to just say, hey, you know what, all of the things we used to believe, we need to start questioning. That's all it's
Mm-hmm.
really there to do. And then it has Saturn, and Saturn happens to be what they call in its fall in Aries. And that means that it's not working as well as Saturn can work if it's in a different sign like Capricorn or Aquarius. And but Saturn still has an ability to say, hey, we see everything dissolving, but we still need to recognize that a structure has to be there. We can't have anarchy. Does that make sense? So we
Yes.
need some structure. So we need to recognize, hey, I think, Neptune's kind of just, I would say, melting the edges of Saturn's discipline and boundaries so that we can re-envision what the new structure might look like.
Oh, goody. That
Okay.
sounds delightful.
Right. So as now that we're in Aries season, all of the inner planets are going to start crossing crossing in through Aries. And Mars is entered actually tomorrow. So tomorrow Mars is entering, and that's Mars is the action planet, right? It's the planet where we cut, sever, separate. It's the one, it's our action. It's where we act without thinking, but it's hitting two planets that are really going to kind of temper it a little bit. So Mars in Aries happens to be in its own domicile. So it's very powerful there. But keep in mind, Neptune, because it's like that dissolving, it's very watery. So water and fire don't always mix, right? Water can kind of take a little bit of the fire out of the way. So what we're seeing, I think, as Mars comes across Neptune and Saturn is it's going to have, as it enters Aries, it's going to temper a little bit with its ability to be fiery. And it's going to be, hey, I might have to slow down and be a little bit more thoughtful here because there definitely is a need to act, and there's definitely a need to be kind of warrior-like in this world that we're in right now. But we also don't want to burn everything down. Right.
Yes.
And so I think it's just about tempering a little bit of the force that Mars usually comes in and just is like, okay, let's just burn this all down, start over, and move forward. And it's just going to be a little bit tempered. I think it can make people sometimes a little bit irritable. Sometimes when Mars entered Pisces last 2 months ago, I think it was 2 months ago, I ended up burning myself the day it entered. So it's often that people can get, we can poke ourselves with a knife or we can burn ourselves. So you can look for that kind of stuff too, just like the weird things that happen when Mars comes into any house that you happen to have planets in. And then it also, Chiron is in Aries right now. So Chiron is the wounded healer, right?
Yeah, that's Chiron is conjunct my ascendant, and Aries is my moon sign.
Yep.
So what does that mean for me?
So, well, Chiron means, for whenever Chiron is in Aries, it kind of means that sometimes you recognize you don't fully exist in the world as you see it. Like sometimes it sometimes makes you incapable of finding your place, or understanding why you're here, or, I'm not like all of them, or sometimes making you feel like that your identity or existence is somehow in question sometimes. And that may be for you specifically, it might just be amongst groups or friends sometimes, like, it might be a hard place. Like it's
I
hard
have like
for me to
no
find my
friends.
mojo. Okay.
Yeah. My
Well,
friends eventually it breeds like envy and like different things. And then I feel like I don't actually have true friends who want to. I mean, I obviously have true friends, but they're online. It's not, I don't have a friend that can come over and hang out with me that I can like be honest with. So, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, but I think like some of that is just recognizing it's doing what you're doing though. It's recognizing that, the people we need the most, or the person we need the most, is ourselves. Right. And
Yes.
that knowledge. So when you were younger, it probably was very disconcerting and like, why can't I, why do I have trouble having friend groups? Why do I always feel like the odd man out, whatever that is. As you get older, when you recognize, oh, okay, well, maybe this is just some learning that I have to do here. And when we can kind of stoke our own fire, or actually be comfortable inside of our own energy, then we take away some of that, because we aren't looking for anything from those other people anymore, right?
Yes, yes.
We don't have that, I don't want to call it neediness, but sometimes that comes across as
A
neediness.
dependency. Yeah. It's so interesting. A couple of nights ago, I got very sick. I've been doing a parasite cleanse, and I don't know what happened. I think it was also energetic. I think I was purging something as well. But yeah, in addition to the parasite cleanse. So I was, you know, to TMI, going to the bathroom, and then suddenly I started to feel sick. like I was going to throw up as well. So then I'm like, what do I do? Like, so I
Sounds
could
like an ayahuasca ceremony.
Right? No, it really was.
Oh.
It was like 1:11 in the morning, and then all of a sudden I
Mm.
was like, I don't feel good. And I got up to go to the bathroom, and then it turned into a descent into hell. I
Oh.
threw up all over the wall. I threw up all
Oh.
over myself, and I was like holding my hair back, but I was conscious. Like I wasn't drunk or sick or
Mhm.
anything. So like I was able to hold it, the awareness of like, wow, this sucks. But like I'm gonna be okay. And the song that came into my mind, my guide sent me, Stevie Wonder, Don't You Worry About a Thing. And I was like,
Great song.
because I was feeling like I wish I had someone here to do what I would do for them if they were experiencing this, like someone to give me water or clean the wall up because it's like flat paint. And I'm like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, clean this. But I'm like, I can't do it right now. So
Oh
then
my
it was, the
goodness.
message was so clear. And I'm so sorry to like say such disgusting stuff, but it's true and it happens to everyone. So that's okay. But the realization that I didn't need help from someone else, I had me. So just like I was saying, I wish I had someone to do what I would do. I'm like, I have me.
Right.
I'm gonna take my time, it's gonna be okay. And then I cleaned it all up. And as I cleaned it, I was like, wow, this looks so much better. I needed to dust the floor, the boards anyway. Like, that's okay. This needed to be done. Maybe I can paint now since I stained the wall. Maybe I should paint it. That's a cool opportunity. I could pick a
Right.
different color. And then I'm just trying to find all the best ways, right? So I put my clothes in the washer. I got in the bathtub and I just like, I cried and I laughed and I was like, oh my God, I don't need any, like, I just took such good care of myself. And even though that was rough, it was necessary, but I feel so much better now. And like the next day, I felt like 10 pounds lighter. I didn't even eat like all day long. I just didn't need to. And I was like, I'm so glad to be getting this stuff out because this needs to come out. It
Yeah.
was good. So sorry to go on to that.
No,
But
it's awesome. But
it
I think that's what
confirms
it
that.
is,
Yeah.
right? Like
Hmm.
and I think that for a soul like yourself, who really is here to kind of connect to higher frequencies, there is always going to be a discomfort living in the 3D,
Hmm.
right? There's just is. And
Yeah.
so, I think as a kid, you're shown it in ways and it's very stark because it's like you aren't living like everybody else. As you become an adult, you're like, you know what? I'm not, and thank God, like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and honestly, like I would say, like the impulse, I think sometimes the impulse to want to clean that immediately is just like what we were talking about before. Like, I have to be productive. I have to do
yep,
things like this is a mess and the paint and the cost. And like we get
yep,
into these loops. And the
yeah,
reality is like, you know what? Treat yourself like you would if your kid did the same thing. Are you
yeah,
okay? We can
yeah,
clean this up later. Don't worry about it. We would
yeah.
say that to our children,
Exactly,
right?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah. It's like reparenting ourselves in some ways.
yeah, yeah.
So, as nasty as it is,
Yeah.
but
Well, I think it's funny. I've been trying to talk about this and I might make a whole episode about it, but shamanically, I see our release of things like going to the bathroom, getting vomiting, tears, sweat, blood. It's all sacred. And it really does mean like I mean, like I said, I think it was an frequency-based purge because I also am committed to going to a private plant medicine ceremony April 9th. So I have committed to that. They know I am preparing, I am, organizing, I'm aligning. So that's part of it as well. So it was really beautiful for me to get that strength from within myself through
and
that.
you've also done other medicine journeys. And
Yes.
so, the medicine always works before you take any. Like you don't
Yes.
really need the medicine, so to speak. Once
Yeah.
your body knows what it's going to bring, you could
Yep.
go through this whole thing, never put anything into your body, and you would get very similar results. At least,
Absolutely.
that's my experience of it.
Yes. Yes.
But I like when I did ayahuasca journeys in Peru back in 2023, I got more insight before I had ever taken my first, sip of ayahuasca than
Yes.
I got through the whole thing. It's wild to me.
Mm-hmm.
And, like purging is necessary. And I think that we've turned it, we've turned it into something that's bad or ugly,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think that we need those releases for sure.
Absolutely. I think what I want to talk about is releasing the stigma of that because yeah, it's a natural process. But yeah.
Right.
So I'm sorry, I don't want to like get off on
No,
this
that's
nasty
okay.
tangent, but
No, that's all right. So let's see. Like the only other thing, the other big stuff that's happening is that Venus meets Uranus later in the month. So like April 24th, 25th, thereabouts. Venus is coming into Gemini, and you know where Gemini is in your chart, right?
yeah.
And Venus is going to go in right before it goes in, it's going to conjunct Uranus. And then it's going to move first into Gemini, and then Uranus is going to come in right after, like a day later. And what that really means is, as you know, Gemini is Mercury ruled. That's your ascendant ruler. So that's mind, thinking, communication. It's easy. It's curiosity. It's kind of technology. It's all of these things that are like interesting. It's also diplomacy. Like it's being able to see all sides of an argument, all sides of different ideas, just ruminating. It's a very youthful sign. And Uranus is the quick changer of the zodiac. It produces leaps forward in technology. It makes us question things. It makes us question authority. Like, so you think about all the stuff we were talking about, like what's happening with the transits. This is what's happening at the end of this month is questioning authority. Are the systems that we have to run our own lives or to run our government or to run our world, are those the right systems to have in place? I don't think we're going to have the answer right away, right? But these are the questions that are going to start coming up. So you can look at them for like, what is it in my own life? What is it societally? And what is it kind of in the universe? And so from the universal standpoint, I think it's the new consciousness, right? It's just,
Yeah.
hey, you know what? We're kind of throwing away the old and bringing in the new, but we can't kind of enforce that down on the human world because they would implode. Like there's so many people not ready. But what are the humans doing? The humans are kind of doing the same thing, but in their own small way. So what are the systems that aren't working for me anymore? Being somewhat anti-establishment. I think, we see protests a lot, but I really think the one we should do is protesting, I call it defund the government, like protesting about how these systems have just kind of overtaken our lives and that they rule too many things, right? And maybe we should really just start looking at what do they rule? What are we okay with them taking on and governing for us? And what are the things that maybe are overstep, right? Where is it, that we think that maybe it would be better suited for us to maintain our own sovereignty in those questions? Where can we take back some of that agency that Americans always thought they had, right? I think we've kind of gotten to a point where we've lost some of our rights. I mean, you talk to Amy about what's going on in Canada, and I think there's been a very large shift in human rights there, citizen rights.
Yeah.
So, and she's feeling a lot of that and talking about it on her podcast. And I think that may come up. But the other big thing about Uranus is just, look at the old, clean it out, and be prepared for the new, purging. Right. And you're
Yes.
doing this, I kind of chuckle because I knew you had a medicine ceremony coming up in April. And I think it's the perfect time for you because this is kind of the month where you're like really clearing out, getting very clear about kind of what are the most important things for you moving forward. Because as we talked about before, May is going to be really important for you. And I really think it's just answering the directive, answering the fact that, you know what, you were brought up in this world in a way with a lot of beliefs and patterns and ideas and ways of being. But in order for you to kind of get to the next level, you have to say thank you to that whole system, but recognize that I can no longer be beholden to all of these rules of my upbringing. I need to kind of create a path that's my own.
Yeah.
And I think that's coming really from your nodal returns. this year, because you do
Interesting.
have a nodal return, and
I do feel all of this collectively and personally. I do feel a big shift coming where it's like you won't even know. And I was kind of arguing with my son about this because I was like, it's all going to change. Everything's going to change. Money isn't even actually real if you think about it. Like, and he's like, yeah, it's not backed by gold. I'm like, it was never real, even when it was backed by gold. Gold is everywhere in the universe. It's worthless. It doesn't like you but like you can have conversations with people on different spectrums and they're just never going to come to an agreement in the middle. And he's like, well, how's it going to work? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't need to know. I just trust. And it's
right,
like, that's crazy. That's just crazy talk. And I'm like, no, that's the first step. You have to be able to be like, this is not working. It doesn't make sense. Even though it's all that I know, I'm going to let this go and I'm going to trust and allow for a different thing to come in and crystallize a new way. We're ready. We're
right.
ready.
And I
Yeah.
think for you, like, just your whole design is capable of handling that and alchemizing it and integrating it. A 19-year-old boy who's trying to find his way in the world, it's going to be very difficult. I mean, they're looking for, maybe I see it as they have a directive of being productive and being valuable in some
Mm-hmm.
way. And the only, when you look out into the world, the way to do that is kind of by following the standard path. Right. Right
Mm-hmm.
now that path is very narrow. For
Yeah.
some, maybe it's the trades. For some, it's going to college and getting a job. And a lot of boys going to finance. Right. Is that a path to enlightenment or a path to a happy, joyful, life, spiritual life? I'm not sure. I don't see that, but I grant people grace to maybe that is for them. But I think like that's what we have to realize with our kids is it's their own freaking path. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to own their path. Like I believe that the job of a parent is done at age 14, the age, between 14 and 18, they may be living under our roof, but they're really just testing out all the things we've given them. They're
Yeah.
pushing boundaries and doing things that are stupid, maybe, but the reality is they're testing it out while they're still in a very safe environment. And
Yeah.
then once they kind of get past 18, they really are capable of adulting. And we want to say they aren't because I think societally we've really infantilized our kids,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I was capable at that age.
Yeah.
And I need to grant my kids that. And I need to grant them that they can have whatever opinions they want, knowing that I've given them a good basis and
Yeah.
that they likely will, they'll have to develop their own way of engaging the world and thinking about the world. And I can't control that. Like I wouldn't want my parents to control that.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
and I had my parents control the way I think, I'd be a different person. They were very, much more risk averse than I am.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They lived in one place pretty much most of their lives. They did what they were supposed to do. I change every 10, 15 years. I'm doing
Yeah.
something completely different,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
So,
where we all have our special path. I'm
yeah,
so excited for that. And I love being a parent, just knowing that like it's not really a reflection of us. All our job is to make them realize how capable they are
exactly.
and allow them to find their footing and build their strength. Yeah.
Right. And I think that our children are all delivered to us to help show us opportunities for growth,
Mm-hmm.
truly,
Mm-hmm.
and that they are our teachers. And if that's the case, we have to really revel in whatever they come to because um, we know that we are all souls incarnating on a path. Our children were souls who decided to come through, likely that we've traveled with in the past before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, the harder the interaction, the easier the interaction, all of it is to expose truths to us, to help us uncover the reason we're here,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there is a path. I always say, like, if I think of an astrology chart as like a video game, if you see what you came in with, and these are your resources, and this is kind of how you deal with things,
Yeah.
like you have an axe that doesn't work so well, if you think about Minecraft or something,
Yeah.
right? I came in with like a bum leg and an axe that doesn't work so well, but I still have to move through the levels and get to the main boss at the end,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's about how do we all maneuver through our own video game and recognize that we get to come back in and do it again when we're done.
Yeah.
But we'll have a different set of tools and a
Yes.
different bag and maybe, a working arm this time or whatever.
I feel like it's also like a lifelong learning. Even if you are well versed in astrology, even if you study your chart every single day, like you're still going to learn more about yourself because of all the, I mean, I guess you can anticipate transits, you can project and you know when they're coming, even years and years in advance. But I mean, that's not fun.
Nope, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Last year I had a honeycomb, which was like, every day, like what was going on. I was like, it was overwhelming. I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? I don't want to know.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't know if I don't have enough information to know if this is just me or if it's all people who are more like enlightened, awake, or, just connected. I tend to feel transits 3 to 4 weeks in advance.
Uh-huh.
So I notice that there's something going on, and then all of a sudden the transit will happen.
Yeah.
And I just kind of get that feeling. Same thing for me if I'm doing medicine journeys or if I'm doing any kind of soulful work, I'll get insights before we actually have started the program, that kind of
Yes.
thing. And I
Yes.
think it's just probably because I'm kind of tapped into some of that. The
Mhm.
universe is providing us the information well in advance because it doesn't want to wreck us. It
Yeah.
really doesn't. This is a gentle universe.
Hmm.
It's about providing, and a lot of times I kind of believe it's about providing breadcrumbs. It's
Yeah.
about nudges and breadcrumbs. And when we don't listen is when we get the sledgehammers.
Yes. Yes. It's interesting, like when you were describing a little bit earlier about committing to plant medicine ceremonies and then having a lot of the integral information come through in the weeks prior, you still don't even know that
Right
until
until
you are
after.
able to look in retrospect. Like oh, it's such a wild experience because you know you're receiving it and you're like, wow, that's a key. And it like you can feel it in your body. Everything clicks in. You're like, yup, I got that. And then, but you think you might understand it, but you don't until after. And then it's like, wow, how did it all connect? Well,
Well, right.
by
My
beautiful
ayahuasca
design.
journeys, I got 2 words in one of my ceremonies: surrender, control. And it's been 3 years. So I'm just about 3 years out. I still get insights. So I still am integrating.
Mm-hmm.
Like it has been, I could have told you what I thought it was right when I got done,
Yep.
and then what it turned out, what it was 3 months later, what it was 6 months later, a year later. I was still getting revelations all the way through last year. Like
Yeah.
it's amazing to me. That was 2 words. Like,
Yes.
and you just like, and people want it to be like mind blowing and, all this stuff and tell the stories and
Oh, it's so
whatever.
subtle. It's
It's
subtle
very
and cryptic and yeah, it's very important to keep just you gotta keep going back and it'll revisit and it'll shift and morph and connect in different ways that you could never even imagine. And that's
yeah,
how you know it's by beautiful design. Like it really is. It's yeah,
yeah. Well, it's another thing we are missing is rites of passage in our culture,
yeah.
right? I think that if we were living a little bit more authentically, just in kind of, in the seasons and with community and all of these small community, right? Not large cities. I think we would find that we would have natural ways of having rites of passage for, the people in our tribe, whatever that might be. And some of that includes some of these vision quest kind of activity,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's
Mm-hmm.
just, being stuck on a mountain for 7 days, without any real resources, or it's taking medicine. And the Shipibo maestros that I worked with, their children, when they're babies, get ayahuasca. They give them, they're getting these medicines from early ages.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really about clearing out. It's number one, being in touch with the plant medicines. It's clearing out old stories, removing kind of the stuff that we need to move out. And they're the most peaceful people in the world, right? But they don't
Yeah.
aspire to what we aspire to
Yeah.
here.
That's not the goal. The
Right.
goal is the gold inside of them. And I think that misinterpretation of like, even like the reptilians, like they're mining for gold, like that's the silliest thing I've ever heard. It's like they're mining, we are the gold.
Right.
Our energy and emotions and intentions are the gold. So, yeah, it's wild. But it makes a lot of sense to me, to include our children in our, practice as well, and honor their design, and like you said, give them the opportunity to as well be connected. Yeah.
No, and you're giving your daughter a great gift of just being able to be home. I, I always say it doesn't matter what kind of homeschooling you do, there is a gift in the fact that it's that
Yes.
it's living authentically with your children in, finding the rhythms that work and just living life. You'll find that you just know them so much better. Like I laugh because my kids are all a little bit older, we really enjoy each other. Like we just never had like the teenage angst stuff.
Yeah.
Um, when my daughter just got her license and she's out and about a bunch, she has a job now, whatever. And she's constantly texting me when she's out and letting me know where she is. I don't want to know, like I don't want to have like a map of where she is at all times. I'm not nervous about her being out and about. I fully trust her. And I
Yeah.
love that she, I don't, it's not like, hey, you never called that you when you left work. Like she does. And I never
Yeah.
ask her to. It's just that
Yeah.
she's being respectful because I've always been respectful of them.
Mm-hmm.
They are respectful back. And I think that this, it is really special when you can get to a point where you defy what society believes having a relationship with your children is,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree with that, because it's we like we were talking about earlier, our job as parents is not to control or force them or mold them into anything. It's to support them and allow them to grow and encourage that growth. So, yeah.
And to become who they were meant to be. Like I think about how much I've had to do in my own healing and my own, journey of just really understanding what layers were put on me in my early life, how they showed up in my adult life and what things I want to keep and what things I want to get rid of, right?
Hmm.
And, I don't think my kids are going to be without their own lessons for sure, but they certainly don't have, many of the layers put on them that um, came in from souls who probably had no reason to interact with them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the joy of homeschooling, is that you really allow your kid to blossom in the way that they can shine. And so they just don't have the same insecurities. They're just really confident. They
Hmm.
become extremely confident. And I'm like, you know what? The one thing people need is to not be scared, to have confidence in the world, right?
Yeah,
Especially with
totally.
all the change.
Oh, yes. And my daughter is a manifester. A lot of the time, she can rub people the wrong way. And being in an environment like school and having other kids and just different relationship dynamics and how it works, like she just bucks the system. And it's not like she ever got in trouble. She would be very well behaved at school, right? But then she'd come home and have meltdowns. And it's
Mhm.
like, because she had to hold it in all day. And
Right.
it's just, I mean, lately
I
she's
had one of
been
those.
waking up at noon, and I'm like, is that good? And I'm like, well, it's not bad. Like maybe she's just tired. Like maybe there's the astrological transits are hitting her a certain way and she just needs a little bit more sleep. Maybe she's growing, maybe, and that's
Right.
okay. She doesn't have to get up because she doesn't have to go. Nobody's going to call and say, you were marked. late today. And it's like,
I know.
don't mark me anything.
No,
And
and
you're,
she may be a night owl and, and not like an early bird. And you know what? Like that's really good to know because if you can like talking about managing energy, right? Because
yeah,
manifestors don't have unlimited supply of energy.
yeah.
But if you understand that, oh, okay, I need to be able to ride my waves, right?
Hmm.
Well, you're not, if you're forced into like waking at 7 a.m., getting to school, rushing, they've expended a lot of energy probably just getting to the bell,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
And then they're forced the whole day to be doing things that are not that interesting mostly, right? And
yeah.
in obeying, which is takes a lot of effort for kids to just fall in, right?
Hmm.
Especially if
Hmm.
they have agency at home, which we had challenge. We had my kids, we had the same thing. Like they were perfectly fine obeying at school. Like they wanted to comply, but it took a lot of energy
Yeah.
because they didn't want to fail. And so
Hmm.
they had to think about it. Whereas at home, I never required much from them, like, so they didn't understand how much energy it took to like be
Be a good
fastidious
boy or
about all that.
girl.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
good kid, right? And
yeah.
they saw what happened to the kids who weren't. And that was very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, my gosh, this is just a lot of hours not so much fun. And I don't remember school being like that when I was in. I really don't. Like, I swear it wasn't that important. We spent, from probably 8 o'clock to 2 in the afternoon at school. We had a ton of recess. There wasn't a lot of requirement in elementary school to do a lot of work. Like,
Yeah,
you just kind of, it was a place to be. And that's how it was treated. Parents didn't feel like they had to come to school all the time, which was
yeah.
great. There was maybe one conference a year. Now it's like they just want to own you. I'm like, no.
It's wild. Like a couple of years ago, my daughter was with my ex more frequently than she was with me because I was still like unhoused with our divorce and everything. So he was she was with him more and he was responsible to take her to school more often than I was, but she missed a lot of days. So I can't speak to that because she wasn't with me and I'm not the one to say she's going to be absent today because that's not my responsibility. She's not with me. Like I don't know what to say. So there was a lot of like, miscommunication with the school. And one day I went to pick her up and it was in person and this woman in the office was saying that she had missed more than the allotted amount of days. And she was like, you're going to have to get a doctor's note for any other absence that she has. And I was like, but like, I don't take her to the doctor all the time when she's sick. Like, just because she's sick, I don't go to the doctor because why would I? Like,
Right.
what?
Right. You need to go get permission. Like,
Yeah.
but when you understand where that comes from, it's that schools don't get funding from the state if a kid's not there. That didn't used to happen, right? It used to be local money that funded the schools. And then we've gotten, state, now we have a lot of state funds and a lot of federal funds that come in. And there's a lot of teeth or claws that are kind of in that require certain things. And
Oh.
so a lot of it's just, the problems inherent in the system, not so much
Hmm.
whether or not they're doing the right thing. And
Yeah.
and with that money comes a lot of strings, a lot of requirements for what they're supposed to teach, which I know drives a lot of parents crazy these days. And I just don't understand how we got here. I'm just like, how did we get here? But hey, you know what? If you can keep your kids out, you will never regret it if
Yeah.
you really can get to a point where you recognize that living authentically doesn't require living like school, right?
Yeah. Or
Schoolwork can be
falling
done
in
in
line.
2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And there are days where she doesn't do much schoolwork. Like, for example, she's probably playing upstairs. She could be working on Canva. She could be doing her workbooks, maybe, but I'm having this meeting with you here now, and I trust her to be doing what she wants with her time and what should be
And
done.
what you'll realize though is all of the things she's pursuing are learning.
Yes.
And you have to like what that took. We were unschoolers, so my kids never were taught in a curriculum. They never did anything. And they were gamers, and I had to learn. I had to sit and I played with them because by playing with them, it really taught me what they were learning.
Mm-hmm.
So I did hours and hours and hours of Minecraft with them. I mean, even to this day, my son he's 19. He just came down and said, "Hey, Mom, we were here just announced they're releasing a new version. This is a game we've played. It's a game you play together on Steam. You're in two different rooms and you have to solve puzzles together."
Oh, that's
He
cool.
gets so frustrated at me because I suck, but he's ready to play the next round with me. He must have
That's so
he must have
awesome.
gotten over how bad it was the last time we played together. There was one game, it's funny, but there was one game where he was underwater and I had to keep solving puzzles so that he could get air to come through to him.
Oh my gosh.
And I kept failing, and he had to keep running to this area, like running away to get where he wouldn't, drown. It was very funny. I mean, in the end, but boy, did he get frustrated with me. But we've played cooperative games a lot together, and it's great because it requires really good communication
Yeah.
and talking
Yeah.
to each other, and that's learning, right? How do you talk when you're under stress? We used to play a game called, stop. I think it's called Stop Talking and No One Explodes. What's it called? Something like that. But it's like I have a manual and my son has a bomb and he has to tell me what the bomb has and I go through the manual to tell him how to just, to take away it or whatever, diffuse it.
Uh-huh.
And it's like you have 5 minutes and it's like stressful because you're like trying to just which problem is it, and you're trying to figure out what problem it is, and then you're passing through the information. So when you kind of when I say when parents get over themselves on gaming and recognize that gaming is amazing and that
Yeah.
there's so much learning in it,
Yes.
that you start realizing, oh, I don't have to poo-poo what they're doing as if it's something outside of learning. Like, oh, they're gaming too much, they aren't doing their learning. To me, my kids almost only learned in gaming, and they are astute, literate, capable. Like, I have a son who knows so much about history, it's insane. Like, he can just rattle because he watched YouTube videos and he liked the guy and he played civilizations for years and years, where you
Yeah.
just build worlds. And, they're, I do not fear for them at all. I think if
Yeah.
anything, they know how to learn things. And
Yes.
so when they're faced with having to figure something out, they have mechanisms. They don't feel like they have to go to a brick building to learn it. They just
Yeah.
go to the web and they ask people and they try things out and they do different things. What I would do to learn something.
Yeah. Like the other night, a couple nights ago, my daughter was playing Roblox and there was
Mhm.
someone that she considered her new friend that spoke Spanish. So then she's going online, looking up words in Spanish and writing them down on flashcards so she knows how to spell and communicate and write. She's learning Spanish. I'm like,
Yeah, it's
cool,
awesome.
play with your friend.
I
It's
know, right? I
yeah.
mean, my son, my other son, creates weapons and characters in Roblox games. Like that's one of he does 3D animations or
Oh, so
3D
cool.
modeling. So a friend of his who has a Roblox game or two hires him to like build out weapons and stuff. So
Oh,
like, but like that's cool, right? But if
yeah.
he were to go to college for that, he can't just do 3D modeling. He has to get a degree in computer science or he has to get a degree in art. Like you can't
Oh,
just do what he wants. So
yeah.
he's like, I'm not sure that I want to go either of those directions. And that
Yeah.
makes sense, right? Like we make kids do a lot of extra work to learn the stuff they really enjoy.
Yeah. And it's not that way in the eco villas in Puerto Rico, for example, the communities that are already working along the lines of what I imagine for what the future is going to be for the rest of us in my dreams. Um, but the schools there, it's like basically Montessori, but not quite. It's like they can gravitate toward whatever interests them. And there are 3-year-olds using real knives,
Yeah,
making real food. And it's like, that's what I want to see. Not someone
100%.
being like, oh my God, no, you're going to cut yourself. It's like, how are they going to
Oh,
ever
well,
learn how
you
to?
only cut yourself once.
Yeah. And then you're
I
like,
mean,
damn, I don't want to do that again.
right. Well, it's, that's the baby proofing culture, right? Like we
Yeah.
used to, I never, like I baby proofed, I hardly did it, but I think I put the plug things in, but I never put something around the edges of the coffee table because I was like, number one, they aren't even going to know there's danger. because if you pad it all, like you're essentially raising a kid in a padded room. I mean, I
True.
didn't have like, we had a wooden stairs, and we had a log home at the time when our kids were young, and we had a wooden stairs that were the big bolt, like big pieces of wood and with sharp edges, and we never put a gate at the top. I was like, you know what? I want them to be, aware that they're at the top of the stairs and need to be conscious.
Yes.
I mean, and
Yeah.
the only child that I had that fell down them was my daughter, which makes sense. But that's all right. She only has a couple twitches. I
Oh,
mean, the boys were like, they never had a problem with it. Like, I think we have, we need to recognize that kids have an amazing will to live.
oh
And
yeah.
sometimes we need to like let them try it out. Like
Yeah.
at a playground where they can climb and do things without somebody, like kids sense our energy. So if we're, nervous, kids are like, oh my gosh, I have to be fearful of this. And they'll
Yeah.
stop themselves. Like, so owning our own reactions, like this is all the healing shit, right? Like
Yeah.
learning how to control our own reactions to things with children, without children is one of the most
Yeah.
important things.
Yeah, I was a swim instructor for a short period of time last winter, and I loved it so much. I worked in the morning, so I worked mostly with younger kids who were not in school and sometimes babies. And the babies didn't often go under the water because they had parents in the class. So it was like a mommy and me kind of class, but also dads would come. I don't want to make it sound like it was just
Mm-hmm.
moms. But yeah, swimming with the kids. But we didn't really let the kids go under the water too much, which all actually like doesn't make sense because if you're trying to teach them how to like hold their breath, they're going to need to be in the water to find out how to hold their breath. But when I first started, I remember there was a little girl and she jumped into the water. She was probably 2. She jumped in, went upside down, like her legs were up in the air. She's clearly like, and I'm like, oh my God. And I like picked her up real fast. And the manager was training me and she's like, oh no, don't ever do that. Like, don't ever grab them out and be like, oh, like, and I was
Yeah.
like, sorry, like, I'm just like, holy shit, get this baby out of the water. Like,
Responsible. But that's the thing. If there's
yeah,
someone else, like if it's your own kid, you might be less willing to, you might be like, hey, let's see what happens. But
yeah,
if it's someone else's, you're
yeah. I
going to
was like,
be much
wow,
quicker to shut
yes,
it down. I think this is the challenge with institutional raising children, right?
yeah,
Is that the threshold of risk is much lower for hired help than it is for mom and dad
yeah,
in many ways. Now, granted, we do have a lot of fearful parents. I'm not saying that that's not, all around. But my
yeah,
husband, when it came to water, because he was a swimmer, he grew up with a mom who was a swimmer. He was a swimmer. Like they had pools every house they lived in. And so he was always like, it takes a while for a kid to drown, is what he would say to me.
oh my
And
gosh,
so, he always let them kind of get into their own trouble in the
yeah,
water.
yeah,
And I, well beyond what my threshold would have been. But you know what? They've all lived through it.
yeah,
So, and they aren't swimmers, but they're competent in a pool.
yes,
Like they don't swim laps.
yeah,
But I didn't either. That's not anything I ever did. But I do think like there's huge advantages to just granting that. I always say that, young kids are are authentically who they are, albeit a little bit immature. Meaning they're authentic humans in the household, but a little bit immature, right?
mm,
And you just have to understand at what level of maturity should they be expected to work at, and
yeah,
then work with them there. But don't remove all their agency just because they're young or, inexperienced or
yes.
underexperienced.
Y- Yes. And I feel so fortunate my daughter being a manifester and being just herself. She has always been very I'll do it. I know how to do this. I'm going to climb that tree. I'm going to cut that strawberry. I'm going to and I'm just like, okay, okay. And she's very forceful about it, but I'm like, I can't deny her because it's first of all not worth my energy to try to say no. And then what am I actually doing to her? Limiting limit wise saying no, or that's not possible. Like, that's not true. Like these are the realizations that I've had just having her in my life. It's been rewarding.
I mean, just think, like, if there's somebody who's grown up and has been told no, or that, you know, things are scary, you see those people around the world as adults now.
Yeah.
Right. They're, you know, they're the ones who don't, that, you know, like the minute something bad happens, they want to tell an authority, you know, like how I used to see it I used to run a very large Facebook group here in the area, and people would like say, like, you know, my neighbor is running his lawn blower at 7 a.m. and how do is anybody know a lawyer I can call to get them to stop? And I'm like, well, can't you just talk to them? You know, like, no, I'll hire a lawyer to, you know, call mommy to have them deal with the problem I'm having instead of actually confronting them directly, you know. It's just it's so odd to me. But
that is odd.
That's all right. You know, we've created this, and now we've got all these people that we now have to kind of pull out of the water and bring them back up and be like, okay, everybody, it's time to be independent and capable and understand who you were meant to be, and just get you back to where you should be.
And with help from you for their astrological charts, human design, Akashic records, and Reiki, I can't wait to see the litany of connections that come because of the work that you're doing. I'm so thankful for your time today and for everything that you're doing, your insights. And I know for years now you've shared and offered to share insight on homeschooling. I so appreciate it. You were a major inspiration. I remember sharing that with you. I think it was over 2 years ago. Like, I want to homeschool. And you're like, anytime, I'll got you. We'll talk about it. So here we are, and it's happened. And I love to see that, especially in reflection, that, things are moving in the right direction.
Well, I'm really glad to have spoken to you today. And I'm really excited on the path that you have. You have so many cool things in front of you, like in just so many areas. I can't wait to see where all these little paths lead.
Same. I can't. I try to see, but I'm just in it for now. Thank you so much. Thank you for recognizing that. And that inspires me. Sometimes I forget, that I put things out publicly, because it's just like, I don't know. I forget that it's someone else is interpreting this and seeing this and thinking about it. And I'm like, oh, I don't know why that surprises me, but thank you for that.
No problem.
Yeah. Well, check out Teri. And can you share your Instagram? Where can we find you?
Sure. I have a website, which is www.sensibleheals.com. And you can go to Sensible Heals on Instagram. That's where you can find me.
I love that so much. It's funny. It made me chuckle when I read it earlier. I was like, Sensible Heals. And then I was like, ah. It's perfect. It encompasses it. I love it. Thank you so much again, Teri. Thank you for being here and listening to this episode with Teri and myself. This conversation really stayed with me, especially while I was away in Shasta, and understanding people more deeply instead of taking things personally, and recognizing when we're giving away our energy without even realizing it. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with someone that you're navigating a relationship with, or someone that has been trying to understand themselves on a deeper level. If you're interested in Teri's work, I definitely recommend connecting with her and exploring readings, especially if you're navigating family dynamics or looking for more clarity in your relationships. As always, thank you for being here, for listening, and for being willing to see things differently. I'll talk with you in the next episode. Until then, take care and enjoy this track by Stilo Free, Lights and Shadows.
Smoking loud in the silence. It's all love, but no trust. Why you think I'm doing too much? Cause pressure made to mind me. In the end, I hope you really find peace. I had to set my mind free. I had to let my soul breathe. Moon sign Pisces, heart broke psyche. Angels all around me, but demons wanna fight me. Feel like I had to fight myself. No, I had to look inside myself. With a predisposition to addiction. Through the negatives, I'm still focused on the vision. It's sorta like that first scene you see in Pulp Fiction. I see the end, but it's really only the beginning. I had to find a way to be grateful for them locked doors that you made close. When doves cry, it's so painful, but the purple rain is so graceful. Cause pressure made diamonds. Lay back, smoking loud in the silence. It's all love, but no trust. Why you think I'm doing too much? Cause pressure made diamonds. Lay back, smoking loud in the silence. I roll up and go up. Why you tripping? Give me no love. I'm fighting battles, lost between the lights and the shadows. Tryna shoot me down, I'm dodging all the ammo. Left me hanging, I escaped from the gallows. Swim through the ether, blowing on a reefer. Running like Rev when he rapped about Adidas. It's like my flow is heaven sent. My energy can shift the cards in your tarot deck. Life ain't always what it seems. An alternate reality, I'm living in a dream. I got the Stussy on the T with the 501 jeans. Ray-Ban Lokes with the Air Max 3s. Mandela effect, got me living my best. I gotta jump timelines when I'm living in stress. And a spliff in my chest, it got me lifting and blessed. Peace, you know the rest.